don't need a high-end designer or a lot of money to get a luxe look. Be your own interior designer.
This is Affordable Interior Design, the podcast.
Here's your host, Betsy Helmuth.
My next question for today comes from Kirsten. Kirsten is writing from Germany, and she says, Betsy, how do you go about coordinating curtains in a home? More specifically, if a home, i.e. a dining room, can be seen from another room, i.e. a living room, how would you go about choosing curtains? Thank you. So what you're describing is an open concept space, Kirsten. And in your open concept space, you do want the entire space. So everything that you can kind of see from that central room. So say I'm in the living room and I can clearly see the dining room. I can clearly see the hallway. Heck, I can even see the kitchen. Let's just say it's quite open. Then you want them all to share the same color palette. Choose that inspiration piece wisely. And then you're going to pull your 60-30-10, from that inspiration piece. But say you're using 60-30-10 in the living room. Let's use my living room for an example. So my 60% is like a wheat yellow. My 30% is now, because I switch it out pretty regularly. It's hard to switch out that 60%, but I regularly switch out my 30 and 10. So it used to be yellow, red, green, and I have switched it out. And now it's 60% yellow, 30% royal blue, 10% bright orange. Well, you can easily see my dining room from the living room. So I took that same color palette. The walls in the dining room are that wheat yellow. And then I've used that royal blue, but I've used the royal blue in 10% doses in that dining room. And then I've used the orange in the 30%. So I basically just switched the 30 and the 10. And then say that we wanted to do something different in the kitchen, something like that. We could maybe use that royal blue for a backsplash. So that way it all ties in, but is using the colors in different amounts and in different ways. I also like to reiterate the inspiration piece. And of course, you're not going to buy two of the same piece of art or two of the same drapes. And we're going to get to curtains specifically in just a moment. But we're just talking about sort of the general way to make an open concept space work. So I have a big painting in my living room. It's a portrait of my family. And it's like a playful fairy tale style portrait of us in Coney Island. My husband is the ringmaster. I'm just some kind of fun fair goer. My daughter's a mermaid, and my son is taking a ride in a toy train. Because if you know Coney Island, it's got so much personality, and so does our painting. And it features that yellow, the blue, the orange, red, green, pretty much a Crayola box of colors. It, I think, features every color except purple and teal. And then I found in the dining room an inspiration piece. In this case, it was not a painting at all, or even a piece of artwork, but it's the drapes. So I chose these lively paisley drapes from Pier 1 that have all the colors that are found in the painting. And again, they omit the purple as well as the teal. Those colors are not allowed in my space, even though they're two of my favorite colors, because they're not found in the inspiration pieces. And then as you flow through into my kitchen, which is open to my dining room, but not to the living room, I have used a bright blue backsplash. And that arabesque tile from Home Depot is in bright blue that clearly relates to the blue found in my dining room. Does that make sense? All right, so now let's talk about drapes specifically. We want the drapes to be a part of that 60-30-10. As you heard, I have the brightly colored paisley drapes in my dining room. And in my living room, I have the wheat colored drapes mimicking the paint color in the dining room. And they have a geometric white trellis pattern on top of them. Now, geometric patterns, whether they're a trellis, a chevron, a zigzag, a stripe, those are all considered geometric patterns. And I would not repeat a colorful drape, like a solid color drape with a geometric print in each room, even if the prints were of a different scale. I personally, and this is not something I talk about often because it's a little controversial in the design world, but I don't like two patterns that are overall a solid with a geometric white print on top of them in the same space. I feel like It's a little too iterative. It's redundant. It looks like you didn't use any creativity. It looks like you went to the geometric design store and said, I'll take that in blue, I'll take that in yellow, even though they may be of different scales. And by scale, I mean the size of the pattern might be quite large on the drape and might be quite small on the pillow, but it's not my jam to do that. So I might do a solid in the dining room, no print at all. And then I do a geometric pattern in the living room that relates to the 60-30-10 color palette. Say that you did have brightly colored walls like mine in the dining room. Well, you might want to go for a neutral drape, right? Don't mind my dog. Don't mind him. My son just got home from school. Now, say it's an open concept living dining space that's all in one room. So there's no true delineation. It's quite open and there's no walls separating the two zones. I would do the exact same drape, exact same color, no differentiation. In that same room, I keep the window treatments completely consistent. It's only if there's a wall separation, there doesn't have to be a door, even though there certainly could be, even if it stays open most of the time. There doesn't have to be a door, but there does sort of need to be an opening or doorway in order to make the drapes in the other room different. That was my long-winded way of telling you, Kirsten, what you need to know about drapes in open concept spaces. I hope that solved the problem. In case it didn't, you'll write me again and clarify, maybe send in some additional pictures. I love digging into pictures because they help me to focus my answer on exactly your problem. Otherwise, you're going to get my answer for all sorts of types of problems, as you did with this question today. But now I hope that answer helped lots of different people rather than just Kirsten. A big thank you to Aton and the Embassy who wrote our theme song. A shout out to Catherine Heller who owns the podcast shop and is our editor extraordinaire. We also want to thank Ginny Sunasan and her team at the Savvy Podcast Agency for their help with our social, our YouTube channel, and so much more. We also want to thank Uploft, which is our parent company who supports this podcast. And lastly, we owe a huge debt of gratitude to you. Thank you so much for tuning in and for all your support.